One thing I find interesting is we keep getting all of the jobs reports month after month, and this past one far exceeded the expectations of how many jobs were created in this economy, which is kind of one of the arguments of why people think things are still going strong and still going well, is because you're still seeing a lot of new jobs being created. However, right now, the number of job openings is literally going down in every single state across the country right now. So we're going to get into some of that stuff and also talk about just this whole illusion with the job market is not nearly as strong or as vibrant as people are talking about. And as you can see, I have my mother with me again today.
Hello again.
It's always nice to be able to do this, to be able to walk with you and walk with Dad and, bring you guys into what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Cool. So the first time since before the pandemic, the number of job openings and unemployed people is roughly in balance. It's a little more than one opening per person looking for work, according to a state line analysis of the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, and these are the guys that put out all of the job data, and they're even now saying that the job openings are coming down all across the board, which is kind of ironic because the jobs that are being created are at these huge numbers right now. And they're also telling us that the number of jobs has declined sharply in every state since 2022. And you're starting to see basically the labor market start to shake out evenly, where you have right now the same amount of people looking for work as the amount of job openings.
So this kind of has affected my boyfriend as well. He's, been at his job for 39 years, and this is the slowest he's ever seen it, where they can't even find work for him. So he's kind of panicking because, they've already done several layoffs. He doesn't know if he's next. So he's like caught where he doesn't know if he should start looking for a different job now, or just, wait it out and see if something happens. And then, if he does wait, maybe there won't be anything somewhere else. It's a constant battle with him. He's stressing about it because he doesn't know what to do, Do you go look for another job? Do you stay where you are?
Well, I don't know if you saw the one I did at the Arboretum. I remember I was talking about this younger person that had applied for like 200 jobs over the past few months and still hasn't been able to land the job that she went to college for and all of that. And
I saw that.
Yeah, and one thing that she said that she's going to do from now on is always be applying for jobs, even if she doesn't even need a job or is not looking for a job, because she's already been laid off 3 times in like the last 2 years. And with that kind of uncertainty, it's like, even if you have a job, how long is it going to last?
Yeah, and the only thing that I could come up with is, if you do go find a job somewhere else, you're going to be the low man on the totem pole, so you're going to be probably the first one they're going to get rid of. Where here, at least you might have a fighting chance that you've been there 39 years, maybe they won't get rid of you.
Right.
I don't know.
But at least it doesn't hurt if he wants to go and start looking for another job. It doesn't hurt to make applications and see what other opportunities are out there while he still has this job. There's nothing to lose then.
No, and he's considered that. He just, again, is not knowing what to do. It's a hard decision to make.
Well, if it were me, I would like to be proactive about it and probably, just be on the lookout. If you're having that feeling that you might potentially lose your job, then that feeling is probably correct. You probably do have, a chance of being laid off, even though you've been there for so long. And that would be, the first thing for me, like we were talking about the other day, when something happens or you're thinking about something, going with your gut is usually the best decision.
Yeah, it is. You could be making the wrong decision either way. It's hard to say.
But what's wrong with just applying for the job?
Oh, there's nothing wrong, but he doesn't know what to even apply for anymore, like he's been at this job for 39 years, so that's all he knows how to do.
Right.
So it's like he doesn't even know where to go.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, And most people that work jobs for that long, they already are probably retired or with a pension or something, and have something to show for it. But I guess that's not the case there.
Well, he's getting close to retirement, so if he can just hold out for 5 more years, he could retire. But at the same time, he doesn't know if they're going to keep him that long. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
So that's why I say maybe you should just stick it out and see what happens, and then worry about it if you do get laid off.
Yeah, well, another interesting real world point here for sure. So here's the other thing we're seeing is, even though the amount of job openings are coming down in every single state, California right now is the worst offender because their unemployment is above 5% right now. And in contrast to that, you have other states like North Dakota where there's 3 jobs for every 1 person out there right now. Here we have a house for sale that was listed for sale at $199,000 and recently went pending. But I think Illinois is one of those states that hides the listing info, the previous listing info, and how much it was for sale before. Because as you can see with Redfin history, May 31st it says the price was changed to $199,000, but it doesn't show what the original listing price actually was or when the original listing actually went live. So we don't know how long this property's actually been listed for or what the previous owner bought it for, and that's problematic for a few reasons. One, as a buyer, you have no clue if you're being ripped off, if the house is a flip, anything like that, because it gives you less information to work with. But also, it makes it harder for you to make a good deal because you can't see what the value of that house was before. So all in all, it's a bad deal for the buyer. And here's another thing I find interesting, that when you look at the comps for recent sold houses in the neighborhood, everything is between like 160 and 150, even down to 130 for the most part. Only one of them was up to 172 and 215. So it's surprising that this house was going to get that much money. And their property tax bill is surprisingly low at only $2,000 a year, but you can bet that is going to go up for the new homeowner. So a couple of points on that. First of all, California likes to brag that, they're like the, 4th or 11th largest economy in the world, whatever it is, even though they're just a state. But, they're actually doing the worst right now when it comes to unemployment. And then, in contrast, you have a state like North Dakota where nobody wants to live there because it's in the middle of nowhere. It's freezing cold for probably 8 months out of the year, and it's not a very appealing place to go. But besides people not even wanting to live there, they're saying they have other problems in North Dakota. Like, for example, they are having a hard time finding skilled workers to fill their open positions. And many who could fill them, they move to other places that are more desirable, yeah. Like Minneapolis, for example. They'll move there so they can have more of that urban lifestyle and not be living in the middle of nowhere, North Dakota. Even my brother-in-law's father, we all had dinner last night, he says that one of the biggest problems that he's having with the company he works for is nobody wants to work at least a few days in the office. You'll have, young kids fresh out of college that are qualified for the job, but they don't want to, come in. They want to do everything completely remotely. So coming in to the office 2 or 3 days a week is like completely off the table. And I think the pandemic has completely skewed people's expectations of how work actually works.
That you have to go to work.
Right, exactly. Well, a lot of people say that, what are you doing here, Michael? You're not working, you're just walking around the neighborhood. But
you're still going somewhere to go to work.
Right, but also you've seen the behind the scenes of how much work I have to put into making each one of these videos. It's a lot of work.
I barely have had time to see you this whole time you've been here because you're always working.
Exactly. It's tough. So the problem is right now is unemployment has already been on the rise, okay? As of last year, we had unemployment as low as 3.5%. As of May this year, it's now at 4%. And when you look in the past and you look at the unemployment graphs, what you'll find every single time, whenever unemployment starts to go up, it goes up a little bit and then bam, it goes straight up like a hockey stick. And that it always comes right before we have the next recession. And that looks like what we're being set up for right now. And the other problem is as more of these companies start to scale back on their hiring, then that's likely going to drive the unemployment rate up even higher. And realistically, just like everything else, all these numbers got completely out of whack during the pandemic. You know, the housing prices, the cost of living, even the amount of jobs openings that came up because people didn't have to go in, so they would just rather take a remote job or stay at home collecting free checks from the government, whatever it is, that allowed people to do that. But now that those days are over, people that finally need to get a job are having a hard time getting one, or the places that need to hire people on the flip side are not able to hire people that want to work or want to perform the tasks that are required. So here's the places where, if you live in these areas right now, that you should be worried, because these are where the job openings are going down the most right now. So the number one on the list is San Francisco. They're down 31% from a year ago. San Jose and Silicon Valley's down 28%. Seattle has 27% fewer jobs. New York City's 12% fewer jobs. Boston's 8%. LA's 6%. Oxnard, California's minus 5%. And Provo, Utah and Washington, D.C. both at negative 4%. And Buffalo, New York at negative 3%. So if you live in one of these metros, you have to be on the lookout, like, hey, if you're going to need a new job soon, or maybe you're in the position like my mom's boyfriend, then maybe it's a good time to start looking now rather than later, before there are no jobs left. And coincidentally, we just got the new unemployment data today. The initial jobless benefit claims fell by 6,000 to 233,000 in the week ending June 22nd. So unemployment claims go down a little bit, and of course everyone celebrates that. But what you really have to look at is the overall picture, like this, like these real world stories, where if you work somewhere for decades and now all of a sudden you feel like you're at risk of losing your job, well, then I would say there's a high probability that that might actually be true, and you might actually lose it. So you need to be on the lookout for something and have a plan B right now before there is no alternative. And the other thing that people don't pay attention to is they just see the headline, like, oh great, the unemployment claims went down this week, so that must mean things are getting better. But that's actually not the case, because the 4-week moving average of unemployment claims rose 3,000 to 236,000, which is the highest level since September of last year. And a few videos ago, I talked to you guys about how there's an index that tracks this sort of thing, and when it gets to the level that it's at right now, every single time in the past, it actually shows you that we are on the precipice of a recession. In fact, the number of people who are collecting unemployment checks right now went up 18,000 by June 15th, and now we literally have 1.84 million people who are collecting unemployment checks across the country right now. And so what you notice is the pattern is showing that overall the amount of unemployment is coming up. Even though the week by week numbers might change, that's kind of insignificant. What is significant is the moving average is going up, and the overall unemployment rate is going up. Simultaneously, you have less and less job openings across the country. That's not really a good combination for success for the future. Now, one of my viewers, Jen, she wrote me an email talking about how she's having issues hiring people that are actually qualified to get the jobs that she is hiring for. Okay, she's an administrator of a government office, and she has had job openings for the past 4 months in 3 different departments, and they're losing people right now. She's had these job postings up for weeks, and the problem is that the applicants are not qualified for the positions. So they're having the opposite problem, not that people don't want to work, it's that they can't find anyone to work. So what Jen says is that these positions all require a bachelor's degree at minimum or extensive experience, and she's not getting any applications that meet that criteria. And also that all the years that she has been in charge of hiring people for these positions, she has never seen it to where, you know, you can't get the people that are qualified. Like literally the people that could have these jobs are not applying for them, and so these positions are just going vacant. She said that one of her open positions, she reached out to 3 people for interviews and she never heard back from any of them. And she reached out a second time, still no response. So people that are applying, that are qualified, are literally ghosting her, which is kind of insane. You know, it makes you wonder what is going on, because why would these people apply for the job, number one, if they didn't actually want it? And number two, it's not that hard to just give a courtesy call back and say, hey, I'm not interested. She's been doing this for 20 years and never has she seen it where it's been this hard to get the right qualified people for the job. And basically the strategy they're using right now is they leave a job posting up for a few weeks. If they don't get anybody, they'll take the job posting down for a little bit and then just put it up and try again. Sounds a lot like how people that try to sell their houses and don't get any luck, they just think that they're just going to take it off the market and try again, and that's somehow magically going to work. Whereas when you're selling your house, you can obviously lower the price and give a better deal. And you could also say the same thing about these jobs. Well, maybe you can offer better benefits or better pay, which is definitely true. But of course, the budget is not there for a lot of these companies. And this is government work too, by the way. So who knows what they're actually paying?
Probably good money, I would think.
Well, you worked for the government. You know, you worked for the post office for how many years?
37.
37 years at the same job.
Yeah.
And you struggled with money, right? I mean, you made enough money to pay for your life and raising us as kids and everything like that.
Yeah, the only struggle was with my kind of job. My pay was always based on the amount of mail I delivered. So my pay fluctuated from year to year, and sometimes it would go down one year and then the next year it might go up. So it's hard to plan for your pay like that because you never know what the mail is going to be like from year to year. Now here's another firsthand account of what's happening with the job market right now that one of my viewers sent me. I just got hired at Home Depot for 5 days a week part-time. Memorial Day was their busiest day, and they did the week's numbers in 1 day in sales, so obviously pretty good. And I was given the excuse that they are really slow, so they cut my hours to 4 hours a week. But he says now that things are slow over there, contractors are only shopping when it's absolutely necessary, and the homeowners are the 98% of the regular customers in the store, and they only shop on the weekends. The rest of the week, the store is a ghost town. And he said if I didn't have a full-time regular job, I would be completely screwed. So the point is, these companies also kind of use and abuse their employees. That's not really a new thing. I've been through that myself as well with different jobs. But they kind of just hired people for a little while, it seems like, because they knew they were going to have some busy holidays coming up. And now that things are slowing down, you know, dropping someone's hours to 4 hours a week, no one can live off of that. And why would you even work this job? I mean, if it was me, I would just quit. But that just goes to show you that, okay, Home Depot comes up next week and says, we want to fill this job that you just quit. Is that really a job if they're only going to work you four hours a week? I mean, you're making basically no money, but the problem is that reflects in the jobs data and the numbers that we get told every single month, and it makes it look like, wow, there's so many jobs being created, but these are the kind of jobs we're talking about. 4 hours a week at Home Depot, not so great. So here's another thing. Take a look at this chart here, and you can see that the unemployment rate versus the 36-month moving average is going up, and unemployment has been rising since April of 2023. And we're at 4% right now, probably going to end the year even higher since we're only halfway through the year. And in previous economic cycles, every single time this has happened, we have seen a large spike in unemployment claims, and then we get smacked with a recession, like I said earlier. But the problem is you keep hearing these stories, right? You keep hearing stories on the other side like, well, we can't find people qualified. We can't find people to work. And the amount of jobs being created just looks astronomical, and it makes things look really good. But digging deeper into the data
charts like this kind of show you the future, and it shows you where things are going to be headed from here. So I don't know when we're going to actually officially be in a recession. If you ask me, we've already been in one for a while now. It's just that more and more of the data points that reflect it are starting to catch up. But the labor market is one of the last remaining bastions that the government looks to say that things are going pretty well. And once that starts to crack and fall below their expectations month after month, then I think they're finally going to start getting the hint as well, and they'll no longer be able to deny it. Well, one thing I always ask people or tell people, Mom, on the channel, which we probably already know, is that, like, say for example, you and John, your boyfriend, live together. If John were to lose his job and, you know, not have work for a while, like he's worried about, would you guys be able to afford all of your expenses on one income?
I'm pretty sure we would, because when we bought the house that we're in, we basically bought it with just using one income, which is what I like to do. You know, they approve us for way more than that, but I don't go that high because I want to be able to afford it if something did happen to one of us and we couldn't work or lost a job or whatever. So I'm pretty sure we would be able to, but I haven't really calculated it since all the inflation and all that. I'm sure we would probably have to cut back a little bit more, but I think we could do it.
But things would be tight for a while until he started working.
Right.
But at least you're not going to be losing your house.
Right. And I wouldn't lose my house. That would be the last thing. And I've been through tougher times throughout my whole life, and I made it through. So I have faith that I can be frugal enough to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the problem too, is a lot of people today, whenever they go to apply for a mortgage, they're getting approved up to like 45% debt to income ratios, and people are buying houses that literally cost half of their monthly income. And say if you're doing that in a dual income household, then you know you lose one of those jobs, and now magically your entire income is going towards just paying for the house, never mind paying any of the other expenses. And so that's why I think a lot of people today are just overextending themselves and putting themselves into that danger zone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to think about the future and try to just live off of one income, and then the other person, if they work, is a bonus. You know, you can save that money, go on vacations, you know, do fun things. And if you ever have a kid, you know, you can have a stay-at-home mom, I guess you could say.
Well, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.